Oikein hyvää huomenta kaikille ja tervetuloa myöskin minun puolestani Kotkaan ja tähän mielenkiintoiseen konferenssiin. Syy, miksi aloitan suomeksi, johtuu siitä, kun me puhumme tästä yhteisöperustaisesta maaseutumatkailusta, niin kieli on varmaan yksi asia, joka on niitä haittatekijöitä tai sitten niitä rikastuttavia tekijöitä. Good morning everyone. Maybe you were a bit afraid that I will speak in Finnish all the time. The reason I started in Finnish is that the language is maybe one of the obstacles when we are developing communities as part of the sustainable tourism. I'm honored to be here today, and I would like to welcome first of all of you to Finland, then to Kotka, and to this conference, behalf of the Ministry of Economics and Employment and myself. I'm responsible for the actions related to Finland's tourism policy, and as the chairman already said, I have worked in the various areas of tourism, such as rural tourism, for the past 25 years. Today we will hear case studies around the world, Europe, Asia and Africa, under the various themes such as local attitudes, partnerships, contributions, fishing tourism and experience of the LEADER program. So I believe we have a very interesting 2 days ahead of us. I will first give you a little introduction to Finland as a tourist destination, then go further to the topic of the conference, and in the middle of my presentation I will highlight how we are doing things here in Finland which are related to the topic of the conference. When we talk Finland's tourism in general, we believe that we do not offer fancy experiences that you could buy anywhere. We believe that we offer a unique, natural experiences. We think ourselves that Finland is a country with an edge. What we are not. We'll find out soon. We are not built experiences, but we offer a range of natural experiences. We offer natural taste. Finland is small and cozy. We are simple, not complicated. All of these characteristics have a strong connection to the topic of this conference, I believe. Tourism is a very important industry in Finland, and it's chosen to be one of the strategic growth industries among all the hard industries such as mining and clean tech. Some figures. Tourism consumption in Finland last year was approximately 13.3 billion euros. The share of our GDP is 2.7%, which is the double of the size of farming. It's larger than the food production, and it's tenfold larger than the game industry. We had 20 million registered overnights last year, and of them 39% were spent in the sparsely populated rural areas. There were 7.6 million foreign visitors, mainly coming from Russia, Estonia, Germany, Sweden and the UK. In addition to the earlier mentioned figures, there are 25 million non-registered overnights, mostly in the countryside, in the cottages, in one of the villages that will be discussed today as well. Tourism employs 184,000 persons when we count together full and part-time workers, and 10% of them work in rural tourism enterprises. Most of the 27,000 tourism enterprises we have in Finland are micro-sized companies. If you go a little bit further to the rural tourism, There are about 5,000 tourism micro companies in the rural areas, maybe even more. It's very hard to calculate due to the lack of accurate statistics. There are about 1,600 farms offering tourism services, accommodation, activities, meeting facilities, food services, etc. Occupancy rate is about 58% in a high season and 20% in a low season. Visitors are mainly domestic in the countryside, but there are visitors coming from Russia, Germany, Sweden and Estonia as well. We go to the subject of this conference. My personal philosophy about tourism is that you cannot develop it or practice it without the acceptance and cooperation of the surrounding community and its people. Even in the cities, the residents' attitudes towards tourism are important because they make the atmosphere of the certain city and can make you feel welcome or not. When we are moving towards remote areas, the more important the role of communities and residents become. I believe we have actually gathered here around a very trendy subject. Trends in a consumer behavior include safety, tradition-related values, and enjoying the feeling of personal well-being. In addition to individuality, the need for communality is emphasized in the trends. This also results in an increase in interest in the special features of domestic and foreign cultures. Tourists want to experience pure, original nature and culture while securing the ecological and social sustainability of tourism. These following snapshots I will show you soon, kind of like prove that we are gathered here in trendy subjects, so to speak. There are many blogs written by locals about the local way of life, but the main aim being to give tourists an insider view of the destinations, as this Saima Life blog in Finland. There are services you can ask the local questions before or while traveling, like here in New York. You can book a local person to host you during your visit, or you can even have a coffee break at the local home and get a taste of how the locals live. Another trend is to be a volunteer at the tourism destination. It's a very popular way to give something back to the world by giving your time, skills and sometimes goods and money towards a positive outcome of the local community while working in a tourism enterprise. I will then start defining the words in the topic of this conference. I think that would give kind of like an introduction to the subject. How can we describe a community? There are many ways to do it. Example, there are geographic communities, which range from the local neighborhood, suburb, village, town of a city, region or nation. There are communities of culture, which range from the local clique, subculture, ethnic group, religious or other global community cultures of today, or there might be community organizations ranging from informal family or kinship networks to more formal incorporated associations, and so on. But I believe we are talking in this conference more about the communities as locations. A little bit about the communities of culture as well, maybe not so much as communities as organizations. Community is always a part of tourism. When walking on the streets of the visited destination, for example in a marketplace, community is a surrounding, a stage for drinking coffee at the local coffee shop. Communities are hosts when tourists are participating in local events. These visits can promote and sustain the local culture. Locals can act as service providers when tourists visit markets, buy souvenirs. By doing that, the tourists bring at the same time employment, of course, and final benefits to the communities. In addition, traditional forms of example of former jewelry, as here in a picture, might be saved through tourism. Local can act as guides by telling stories about local hidden secrets, about the everyday life, or present the local cultural treasures. To go a step further, local can act as part-time tourism enterprises as well. They can offer experiences and pass on traditions at the same time. For example, you can go and see and experience the making of the traditional rye bread, or you can forge a souvenir for yourself, guided by an expert blacksmith. In this situation, locals are employed, tourists receive memorable experiences, and traditions live on. Locals can also open their homes for tourists and treat you as their guest, as me in Thailand visiting my new friends. Communities as a whole can act as tourism enterprises by organizing together memorable events, especially for tourists. The next picture is especially important in Finland. If you're a holiday maker at your own cottage and you use local services, take part in festivals and use local services, these so-called part-time members of the community can make a strong impact on the local community. For example, their purchases can maintain the village shop. There are a few examples. I think we'll be hearing more today and tomorrow. If we then take what is sustainable tourism, there are many definitions again. But sustainable principles refer to the environmental, economic and social-cultural aspects of tourism development, and a suitable balance, of course, must be established between these three dimensions to guarantee the long-term sustainable in the community. Sustainable tourism attempts also make as low as impact on the environment and local culture as possible, while helping at the same time to generate future employment for local people. Sustainable tourism development requires, of course, informed participation of all relevant stakeholders. As well, we need political leadership to ensure wider participation and consensus building. Achieving sustainable tourism is a continuous process, and it requires constant monitoring of impacts, introducing the necessary preventive or corrective measures whenever necessary. Not to forget, when we talk about sustainable tourism, we should maintain a high level of tourist satisfaction and ensure meaningful experiences to the tourist at the same time. What is then rural tourism? In Finland, we define the rural tourism as a form of entrepreneurship which is based on the intrinsic resources of the countryside, the nature, the scenery, the culture, and people. The foundation of rural tourism lies in small and family companies and in a customer-driven approach. Rural tourism may manifest itself in many kinds of tourism services, provided that they are produced in the countryside. They can be activities, local culture and heritage, special features and themes, and so on. Summa summarum, when we are talking about the community-based sustainable rural tourism, can we describe it with words such as collective responsibility, local residence, earned income, possibility tourists to discover local traditions and wildlife, win-win situation. I will go a little bit further how we are doing things in Finland related to the subject. When about 10 years ago we were marketing Finland as a tourist destination, it was found that especially in the rural areas, there was a lack or even limited amount of sellable products available. So we thought something has to be done. So we started various development programs to be able to enhance the product development and get, as an end result, sellable services. All these development programs are based on many market research and other studies, personal interviews and surveys among actors, as well analysis of a current tourism offering by versatile working groups on various themes. One of the themes we have been developing is theme-based village tourism. In villages, tourism in Finland is seen as an opportunity that may provide additional income or secondary occupations for many, not just tourism entrepreneurs. And the development work here in Finland is based on the village's own strengths, often outdoors activities, local cultures, heritage. These special features and themes that which village expertise is the strongest and the environment it at its best. The starting point was to develop and strengthen existing tourism activities and incorporate the village's residents, events, scenery, environment and atmosphere to be able to create even better selling and more attractive tourism products. Tiina will tell more about this later today. Another program we started was on Outdoors Finland. It's a program which Finnish Tourist Board and Tourism Working Group of the Rural Policy Committee have been in cooperation planned and launched in order, again, to develop Finnish summer activities such as walking, canoeing, cycling, fishing, equestrian holidays and wildlife watching and photographing. All these themes are very closely linked with the local communities because locals earn these lands, these activities take place. Locals might maintain the routes, they provide guidance, they are offering services for the tourists and etc. A third program we started was a Culture Finland. It's a national umbrella program for the development of cultural tourism, and the activities promoted cooperation between national and regional tourism clusters and projects, and they aim at better formed network of actors in the fields of culture and other creative industries. Of course, the end result being better services for the tourist again. It's been quite hard to combine the philosophy behind the cultural actors and tourism actors. It's been the hardest work in this program. How to get these two types of actors to work together. Next one is food, of course. As you all know, as travelers, dining out is a common among tourists, and food is believed to be ranked alongside climate, accommodation and scenery in very important parts of tourist decision making. Therefore, we in Finland as well try to enhance these experiences by providing entrepreneurs tips and guidance how to make food and tourism products even better for the tourists and how to make them more profitable for themselves. Next one is the homestay, which is very close to this conference topic. And we began to develop homestay tourism when we recognized the lack of accommodation in the Iron Curtain route, which is a bicycle route along the whole eastern border of Finland. And with this homestay concept, we are able to enhance the attractiveness of this area, which is not yet covered fully by other accommodation services. It's defined an accommodation that is provided occasionally by private people located in the host's own home or in the immediate surroundings. It doesn't have a significant economic purpose, although it's provided for a fee. So these homes are very welcoming, hospitable and home-like, and the privacy of guests has been taken into account when offering the services. With this project, we have, for example, set basic criteria what homestay tourism is, developed a working concept, examined the regulations affecting this type of accommodation, and gathered all this information into a homestay handbook. All these product development areas are then transferred into the following marketing themes. Silence, please. Wild and free. Cultural beat. Is this inevitable burden in camping? Tourism can turn local cultures into commodities when religious rituals, traditional ethnic rites and festivals are reduced and sanitized to conform to tourist experiences. We can stage authenticity for tourists. Attitudes of the local residents towards tourism development may unfold through the stages of euphoria, where visitors are welcome, to the other side when anti-tourist attitudes to be growing among local people. Conflicts may occur with traditional land use, especially in intensely exploited areas such as coastal zones, which are popular for their beaches and islands. Conflicts arise when the choices has to be made between development of the land for tourist facilities or infrastructure and local traditional land use. But it can be a success factor as well. If it's managed well, it recognizes the participation of all relevant stakeholders, it respects local cultures, expectations and assumptions. It contributes and supports integrity of local cultures by favoring businesses which conserve cultural heritage and traditional values. When it supports local economies by purchasing local goods and participating with small and local businesses. And finally, conserves resources by seeking out businesses that are environmental conscious. To come to an end of this introduction, I will ask again and answer myself if community-based rural tourism is a success factor or inevitable burden. I say it's both. But we'll see after all these interesting 2-day sessions if you get into the same conclusion at the end of these 2 days.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a very interesting opening and introduction to our topic and our self-imposed question, inevitable burden or a success factor. Well, I'd like to open now to you, audience participants, and for questions. If you have any particular questions you would like to raise or ask of Nina. Perhaps I can ask an opening question. Nina, do you think it's accepted in rural Finland, rural tourism? Has it been widely accepted?
I believe it's been accepted because it has been developed already 40, 50, nearly 50 years. But of course there are new areas where tourism is a new business, so there has been some resistance to that as well. But in wider sense,
and what you say then, it seems that it's partly due to historic reasons that it's been accepted, because it's been there, and people have grown up understanding that tourism is amongst them. What we could explore later in this conference is in other countries where this hasn't been the case, where perhaps there's more resistance in other places. Does anybody have any particular issue there? Yes.
Actually, I have missed some point of the presentation. Maybe she has already mentioned. Could you please, if you know any data about the rural tourism and the general numbers of the Finland tourism?
Yes, that information was provided on the earlier slides.
Yeah, we have covered that.
Okay. Will the slides be made available on the website? Yes. Okay, so you'll be able to pick up that data later. Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Yes.
I wondered how all of these interventions that you were talking about have been communicated to the rural communities.
Yeah. Okay.
If I give you an example about the village tourism, how we said it, I don't know if Tina is talking about it, but we started it by going to every single village where we started to develop the tourism. We had about 40, 50 people gathered one evening and discussed this. Started by actually going there, not saying from the Finnish Tourism Board or from the other officials that you have to develop this. Started from the locals that they wanted to do, and then we went there and talked with them what does it mean and so on.
Thank you.
Yes, one last question. Yes.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. My question is, have the take and all these excellent ideas, who is taking European community financially?
Have you taken EU aid?
EU aid.
Yep.
All of them are co-financed by.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nina. That was great.